welcoming yourself to your practice. The foundations of mindfulness. Check in with the breath. Where you feel the breath moving through the body. Where you feel the breath most strongly. As you breathe in, you know you are breathing in. As you breathe out, you know you are breathing out. Taking a posture that is on purpose, with intention. And you may notice that the body from sit to sit needs different postures. You may find that lying down today is better for you, but if possible, finding a comfortable, easy, wakeful posture within the body to support us in our mindfulness practice. Posture may include the drishti, your gaze. Eyes closed, so supportive in our practice. We remove outside stimulus that usually overwhelms the visual sense. But know that if eyes closed is not supportive, just softening the gaze down at the floor can be really helpful as well. And bring your attention to awareness itself. Where might the mind be this morning? In my restorative class on Tuesday night, I was sharing with my students the very simple definition of presence that comes to us from Dr. Amy Cuddy, a social scientist at Harvard. And she says presence is simply mind and body in the same place at the same time. And I love that so much. Your body may be here, your mind may be elsewhere. Try to close the gap between the two. We bring awareness to how the body is repulsive in our practice on Tuesday. We may be reminded here shortly that the Buddha, in training his disciples on the body is not the self, would invite his disciples to a cemetery to contemplate all of the nasty ways that our bodies exist and the ultimate ending for all of us. That may seem grim, but it is in fact the truth, and it makes our time here that much more impactful, that much more real. This very moment, the only one we really have, amplified by that truth of mortality. We continue on in our Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta study, the reflection on material elements. This discourse within the sutta is quite short, so we'll be spending ample time in space to investigate how these material elements show up within the body, a little bit deeper explanation on all of them. And so it is said, monks, a monk reflects on this very body, however it be placed or disposed, by way of the material elements. There are in this body the element of earth, the element of water, the element of fire, the element of wind. There is some argument or disagreement within Buddhist traditions about whether those are the only four elements. Some traditions also include the ethers. Yoga students will know ethers as an element. Whether you consider ethers an element or a non-element, ethers being that of spaciousness, not air, not earth, not water, not fire, but the absence of elements. And we will be focusing on the four from the Theravada tradition. The earth element, internally or externally belonging to oneself, is solid. It is the head hair, the body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bones, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, contents of the stomach, feces, and whatever else internally belonging to oneself that is solid. This is the element of earth. The water element, either internal or external, whatever internally belonging to oneself is water, watery, that is bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, snot, urine, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself that is water. This is called the water element. And what is internal fire element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is fire, fiery, that which one is warmed, ages, and is consumed, that by which is eaten, drunk, consumed, and tasted gets completely digested, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is fire. This is called the internal fire element. And finally, air. What is the air element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is air, airy. That is the wind downgoing, the wind upgoing, wind of the belly, wind of the bowels, wind that course through the limbs in breath or out breath. Whatever else internally belonging to oneself is air. This is called the internal air element. And as you contemplate these four elements within your experience, try not to cling to any single element, rather discover with mindfulness where these elements may be present within your experience. And the point of the element practice is to discover all that is non-self. The elements are not the self. They are part of our experience. They are part of our being, but they are not the self itself. earth element, water element, fire element, and air element. Keep coming back to the investigation, open awareness of these four elements within your experience. I was practicing with my study group on Saturday, and we were talking about self and non-self. These four elements, obviously part of the non-self. And if the mind starts to go down the rabbit hole of self and non-self, you may pull yourself out and come into what is real. That is the point of this investigation of material elements. And we don't need to overextend ourselves in what is self. For now, stay true to the four material elements. What is here? What is real? We don't need to attach ourselves to any single experience. And if we start to venture down that rabbit hole, we pull ourselves out. Gentle, loving awareness back to the four material elements. This is the practice of mindfulness. And by contemplating the internal elements, again, those that are earth, water, fire, and air, we contemplate them as non-self, and we can begin the process of uprooting our misplaced need to self-identify with these elements. We may continue on in our mindfulness and our investigation until these elements become just a part of our experience. We may eventually become completely detached, complete non-identification of the elements. And detached can sometimes be a scary word, can be a confusing word. It does not mean that you have a flippant attitude or a disregard. Rather, non-attachment is one rooted in equanimity. When we see and experience non-self for what they really are, those elements, we can begin to appreciate them more fully for what they are. Moment to moment, rising and falling away of experience. Earth element arises through birth, through maturity, through death. Water element through birth, maturity, and death. Fire element, birth, maturity, and death. Air, that first breath at birth, maturity, and our last breath at death. When we look at these elements from a place of non-identification, it is not a disregard, rather it is an incredible amplification of how they exist right now. You might find hands at heart center. Slight tuck of the chin to the chest. We close our practice. May the merits of this practice be of benefit to all sentient beings, ourselves included in the circle of compassion. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you. Stay warm, everyone.
Hey, Bethany and Santa. Hey. Good morning. Am I muted? Can you see me? Good morning. Is that Kyle? Hey, Kyle. All right, have a good day, you guys.